It's your show when you're ready, pal.
Is it recording?
Yeah, it's recording.
Happy days. Howdy, folks. We are here. Welcome to 2 Cents Rugby. I say welcome, but we're actually at your house, Tony.
Are we?
Yeah.
Are we? I thought we were just upstairs at yours.
Yeah, this is Tony. Tony, you run a YouTube channel called
I do.
Distracted Sports.
I believe so. I forget very easily.
It's a fairly new channel.
It is. It's been going for about 3 months.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. But look, it's a real pleasure to be here.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit of rugby, a little bit about our man, your favourite All Blacks coach of all time.
My favourite All Blacks coach of all time.
Ian
we're
Foster.
Gonna get. I thought we were going to get run to Grizz Wiley for a second.
Oh, yeah, not quite.
Do you have Grizz Wiley on the notes?
We don't have Grizz.
Before we get stuck into it, I just want to acknowledge your 50k subs.
Oh, yes.
It's amazing.
Gee, that's Eden Park.
That is Eden Park. That's
Yep.
great. That's Oniwa Domain times 3. You know,
I hadn't thought about it like that. But
I'm from North Harbour, so I think of everything in terms of Oniwa Domain.
that makes a fair bit of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50k. It's pretty decent. I have the
Huge.
kind people watching to thank for that.
It's massive.
So,
You got me into rugby, actually. I've got to be honest. Because before this, I was just a whiteboard aficionado. I just wanted to go anywhere I could to see someone work a whiteboard.
Okay.
So I found you.
Okay.
And you were a master of the whiteboard. And just through that process, I got into rugby.
The osmosis.
Yeah, thank you for that. I
From the
appreciate
whiteboard.
it.
Yeah. I mean, your YouTube channel is pretty decent from what I've seen. It does have a little bit of a lack of whiteboard.
Yeah.
Thus far.
You featured in a few videos.
That's true.
I'll cut it. Look. There, look.
Whiteboard.
The whiteboard.
Okay.
The whiteboard.
We can start now that we've seen the whiteboard.
Whiteboard.
Okay. It turns out you just live like 10 minutes down the road from me.
I know.
So.
It's great. Yeah, and thank you so much for sort of in terms of this whole world of YouTube. There's so many people and stuff, but everyone's been so welcoming. But to have you down the road,
that's pretty awesome.
It's been a massive resource. So it's been great.
Yeah. So we got Fozzie on the agenda. Maybe a wee bit about every Cantabrian's favourite razor.
Yes.
And a little bit about the Rugby Championship, which has taken a wee hiatus for the week as all the teams travel to their upcoming locations. There's the travel factor in there. And then a wee bit on the mess that is Super Rugby and the success that is the URC. She's been a wee bit of a messy...
Mixed bag.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
The mess and the success. Maybe that's what we could call if we
that
made
segment.
a podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true.
The mess and the
Who's
success.
the mess? Who's the success?
There we go.
What's up
We are coming up with segments.
I know it's phenomenal. But
Great stuff.
The big news here in New Zealand right now is it's all about Fozzie.
It's all about Fozzie.
He got his confirmation.
He did.
We got the backing, unanimous.
Yeah.
Backing from the New Zealand Rugby Board that he is the man to lead the All Blacks through to the next World Cup. So there's going to be no more of this kind of umming and ahhing about will he stay, will he go?
All the way through. Say that he loses. He's the first coach to lose a game since 1994 at Eden Park. He loses the Bledisloe
Bledisloe.
Cup and then sneaks a loss against Argentina. Would he still stay? I reckon it's a fickle sport, isn't it? I reckon if that all happens, it's not going to go his way. But they've said this before that he's on the way until 2023. So who knows how it's going to go? But overall, it is I feel better about him just after one win.
One win.
I made a video about how crap he was.
You did.
I did. And there's a tattoo on the line there.
I did notice that. Yeah. Are you going to follow through with that?
Well, I did put in one prerequisite that kind of saves my butt. Literally, is that video needs to get 75,000 views.
Right.
So let's not put a link to that.
Okay.
Anywhere. So if Fozzie wins the World Cup,
yes,
and that video gets 75,000 views, then I have to get a tattoo of Ian Foster on my butt saying I'm sorry underneath it.
I'm sure he'd view that video with glee if you were to show it off. I'm not sure if it would pass YouTube's standards upon.
No, live stream it. Maybe.
Yeah, live stream the tattoo.
Yeah,
that could be. You'd be breaking YouTube. I don't know, some kind of records, or that'd be a first certainly.
It would be some sort of breach of conduct, I'd say.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. But yeah, Fozzie's been endorsed. They've tinkered a wee bit with his coaches.
Yeah.
So we already knew Plumtree and Brad Moore. They're on the way out.
Outskis.
And they did seem, as you mentioned, we do get a little bit of that you're only good as your last game attitude about us. And his last few games had not been the best.
No.
But with that one win,
it was a hell of a win. at Ellis Park under that immense pressure in that cauldron in the hive out with, everything on the line, like do or die, like there wasn't even going to be a discussion of him potentially staying if he lost it. And the way that they played, the way that they found space out wide, the attacking brand, how they kept on saying, it was driving me crazy that they're about to turn a corner. We're really, really confident in this brand that we're trying to play.
How many times can you hear that
And we
before?
were just like, how many markers in the ground can we hear and all this
How
sort
many
of stuff.
lessons are we going to learn?
100%. How many times are we going in the right direction but getting losses? Oh, God. I was very close. I'm going to be graphic.
Be warned.
I was really close when I was hearing his aftermatch talks to literally ripping out my eyeballs, quickly, then ripping out my testicles, then placing my testicles into the sockets where my eyeballs were. That's how close I was to, going on some serious maiming of self-mutilation.
That's graphic.
Should I cut that out? Is that too much for the 2 cents viewers?
We can make that call.
Okay, well I'll leave that to you. Yeah, but it was. But look, they bloody did it.
They did.
They turned the corner. They played in a great style of rugby. A huge, seeing the impact of Jason Ryan. Like we saw it the week before, their maul defense was way better.
That's right.
But this week their scrum was better. De Groot played well.
Inexperienced scrum as well, though. Front row.
Takiaho, man,
He's a beast. He's got to be our number one hooker at the moment, surely.
Yeah, like by a country mile right now.
He's putting. I mean, that third test where they selected Coles ahead of Takiaho. That's the kind of madness that had All Blacks fans just tearing our hair out. Like, you guys are watching a different game from what everyone else is seeing.
That's a better way. I should have just said tearing my hair out rather than ripping my nose. That would have been better.
The point is the same.
Yes,
yes.
Yes.
It was frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I was trying to say.
Yes, very frustrating. But they seem to have maybe selection-wise
this could be
starting to get things right.
Potentially, but there's still a lot of work to be done in the combinations.
One game does not
make a successful team.
That's right.
Yeah, but you still saw a lot of drop ball on the weekend. I know, I don't want to nitpick or anything like that, but there were still signs of combinations in the midfield not being quite there. Like, that big ball from Bill Jordan over to Caleb Clark that went way over his head.
At the start of the game, yeah.
Just a little bit of stuff that needs to be tidied up a bit, but and hopefully it's not just one of those false dawns. When you
the first game against the Irish, where we had that like 10 minutes where we just scored try, and like, oh, everything's hunky dory.
Where we look like All Blacks.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Which we haven't looked like for a wee while.
And that was what was so heartening about the second test at Ellis Park was they looked like All Blacks.
They did.
They played with speed. They played with a lot of accuracy a lot of the time. They were super physical. Shannon Frizzell, I thought, was massive.
I know. He's is he the answer at 6? Because the 6 jersey, since Jerome Kino's left the scene, it's kind of been a bit of a rotating, I don't know, position. Like, nobody's really put that marker down to say, I'm the guy. It's been Scotty Barrett. It's been Frizzell. It's been,
Akira Ioane.
That's right.
I think just that whole balance of the loose forward trio is not quite right, and it comes back to a difficult question. Are you
going to bring up Sam Cane?
I am going to bring up Sam Cane. Like, I think he's a tremendous player.
Yeah.
And I think he's a great servant.
He's a real workhorse in terms of doing the grunty, getting through tackles, tracking back, clearing out, but maybe not doing as much of the flashy stuff.
So is Don Popoli.
Right.
So is Artie Severe.
Right.
Artie
Severe's got a bit more of the line breaks and the real flashy skills 100%. Which highlight real stuff.
But I feel like by having Sam Cane just cemented in there, not as an option, but just always going to be there, we're losing the likes of being able to utilise Hoskins Tutu.
He's not really got a game, is he?
He hasn't got a game all season. Him and Pirafeta haven't played a single game. He hasn't got a single game, and also we can't get the 1-2 punch of having like a Akira then a Frizzell or a Frizzell then an Akira or something like that. Right. It's just the balance is not quite there because Artie's got to be in the mix.
He has to. You have to play Artie, but because you got Sam at 7, you have to play Artie at 8, which means you can't play Hoskins.
Yeah, and then just name someone who played better in Super Rugby this year than Dalton Papali'i.
As a Blues fan, I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah, exactly. I can't think, and he was massive, and he hasn't been utilised. And then you've got guys like Tom Robertson who can't get a look
in.
Team.
That's right.
Who's the
guy from the Crusaders?
Oh, such Blues fans. Because they always go on about him.
Yeah, Cullen Grace.
Cullen Grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But team's looking a wee bit better. got the new coaches in. Joe Schmidt's getting an increased role.
Yep, I think
So
that's good.
it's like Fozzie's got every helping hand that he can get. Like
Yeah.
even you with Schmidt and Jason Ryan, like surely you could, get some results out of the All Blacks players maybe?
I'm wildly uninspiring.
Right.
I'm not known as a motivator of men, so I don't know how I like
But
that.
speaking of motivation of men, how much support did you see the All Blacks players given Fozzie after, when the future was still uncertain?
100%.
How much does that count towards his kind of reappointment?
Huge. And I think that is, that's one of the things they talk about when a coach is really on a slide. They say he's lost the changing room.
That's right.
And
Don't want to play for him.
Exactly. And you've seen it with Warriors teams over the past. You see it in the NRL from time to time. You've seen it in Super Rugby from
All
time
kinds
to
of sports,
Yeah, all
yeah.
kinds of sports it happens. But it clearly didn't happen with Fozzie. For whatever reason, they were believing what he was trying to do, And it's not a smart move to come out in the media and say, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the coach.
But they could just keep their
Not
mouths
say
shut.
anything. And, I thought that some of the stuff that Artie was saying was particularly moving
Yeah.
about his coach. And, there was those tweets from Aaron... I was about to say Aaron Cruden. Aaron Smith, thank you. Aaron Cruden, I don't
Smith's
know if
an easy name to forget.
I don't know if Aaron Cruden was tweeting about it, though.
Maybe not.
Who's he playing for these days?
Was he in France or Japan?
One of those places.
Yeah.
He was underutilized rugby player, that guy.
Got himself into trouble at the bar that time. Missed his flight.
Yeah, that's right. We've all been there.
That was my old local, actually.
What's the name of the bar?
The zookeeper's son in Onehunga.
Never been there. Well, you're an Onehunga boy, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm not going to dox you. Okay?
I'm out west now, so yeah.
Just knock on every door out west.
Yep.
In the
One of our doors, it'll be there. Because, 10 minutes down the road from each other.
Yeah, 100%.
But, players got behind the coach. Tactically, they seemed to get things more right. And they got a result which got Fozzie his gig back. So
A famous result.
And now you've got a couple of games up against Argentina at home, which, on paper, we should be winning. And then home and away to Australia, who, if there's one team that Fozzie has had the wood over, it's been the Aussies. Like Dave Rennie's winning percentage is below 50, but when you take the All Blacks results out of it, I think he's at about 50. So he's kind of struggled to get those over Fozzie, and they've got a horrendous injury list at the moment as well. So is this going to be this, sweeping change where the All Blacks have really turned that corner at Ellis Park, or is it just too early to tell?
I would love to think so. I really, really would. As an All Black fan, I want to see them win every game.
I don't think you're convinced.
Yeah, but I think there's just more twists and turns in the story, really. Like, I'm interested to see how... I know Argentina have had their ups and downs, but they have got a win over us now.
Yeah, that's true.
And it wasn't long ago that Ireland had just got one win over us as
right.
well. So, and I just feel like, Michael Cheika he comes out with all sorts of odd stuff, but he's a wily character.
Yeah.
And they've got David Kidwell as one of their assistant
That's
coaches
true.
as well, which
True.
I think he's a great defence coach.
True.
And, a lot of leagueies are going into being defence coaches.
Defence coaches seems to be really... there seems to be... It's just a really suitable role. You've got numerous guys who've got that rugby league background who seem to be able to make that switch.
Absolutely. And I don't think I can ever think of a time, obviously with the 4 teams, I don't think it's ever happened when everyone's got one win, one loss.
That's right.
It's amazing.
The competition itself. And World Rugby generally at the moment is looking to have more parity in it than we've seen in quite some time. Teams that go at it at the top level genuinely don't know who's going to win. It used to be that, of course this team's going to win. They always beat the other team, but not really at the moment.
No.
Which is a good place for the sport.
It is a great place for the sport, absolutely. And I think if you're World Rugby, you've got to be happy about it. They did get their draw completely munted, though.
They always do that. We love giving World Rugby some stick, rugby fans.
Yeah.
If anything goes wrong, it's pretty much World Rugby's fault.
World Rugby and Wayne Barnes from 2007 in that forward pass. That's all
World Rugby's fault. I blame Bill Beaumont for that one.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think he was the chairman.
Good question. Favourite referee of all time?
Of all time?
Yeah.
I mean, the easy one to go for is Nigel Owens.
Yeah.
But one funny thing I find with him is that people often like Nigel Owens. Some people genuinely can't stand him, but people genuinely like him because he seemed to kind of have sometimes a little bit of common sense factor.
Yeah.
Where he maybe didn't stick like by the laws of the game to the letter. He would kind of have that little bit of leeway, and then he would speak to the players, and people appreciated that. But then also when we are critical of refs, we often say there's no consistency. One ref does it this way, one ref does it that way. So it's almost like the reason we like him is because he did it semi by his own rules instead of just always being a real stickler.
Yeah, you go deeper into the weeds in terms of rugby and the calls and all that sort of stuff. I'm like very much guy in the bar. And I just liked him because he was a funny bugger.
He was.
You know, and I think that's why people like him.
Some people don't like him because they think he's a bit of a prima donna.
Well, aren't we all? Aren't we all? You should have seen 2 Cents Mark actually before this. He was demanding his makeup.
Absolutely.
Meeting the trailer.
Absolutely. Demanded a coffee as soon as I walked in the door.
Yeah, get me a coffee.
Basically.
Coffee.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got to keep me juiced up on coffee. I don't know. Is that a saying? You can cut that out.
No, we'll keep that. Yeah. Juiced up on coffee. This part is brought to you by the good people at what's the coffee brand?
What was it? Nespresso?
Nespresso.
There you go.
This is a beer. Thank you.
Yes.
There we go.
But happy days in All Blacks land. We got some matches we could potentially be winning. Yes. And Fozzie's reappointment looking like gold. But where does I don't want to say looking like gold.
You asked a question that I went off on a wild tangent. You asked about Razor and I did not answer it.
Yes, that's what I was going to get to. Razor.
Yeah.
So with Fozzie's reappointment, if you can call it that, where does that leave our man Razor? Because if I'm not mistaken, he's contracted through for one more season with the Crusaders, which takes him through till 2023.
Yeah.
And then is he sitting and waiting for the All Blacks to come a calling, or is he? Because they had to have been in conversations with him during this whole debacle. Because I mean, we didn't touch on the New Zealand Rugby Board and how much of a mess. I mean, you guys outside New Zealand may not have seen just how much nonsense there was in the media about this. You literally had the CEO of New Zealand Rugby having a press conference after the South African win. Yeah. Well, the New Zealand win over South Africa in South Africa to talk about the future, where he just said, "I can't say anything now. Yeah. We're going to talk about it next week." It was just.
We were texting, going. We were like, "Oh, he's got to do it. He's going to do it.
He has to be sacked because why would you call the press conference?" Yeah. It was just. But so. You reckon Razor, has he had enough of this nonsense and he's like, I'm going to look overseas? Because he said in that interview with the Rugby Pod that he's keen to go to 2 Rugby World Cups with different countries, one being the All Blacks. Is he looking at Eddie's job with England after the World Cup? I mean, there's been a lot of Scottish fans would like to see Razor.
Oh, jeez. I think any team in the world would like to see Razor. Like, he's such an incredibly winning coach. Yes. You know, just
his record's incredible.
Unprecedented sort of record in terms of what he's been able to achieve. But I think the sad thing is if as a New Zealand rugby fan, this could be one of those moments, especially if everything goes tits up with Razor, well, not with Razor, with Ian Foster, which they really could, that we could look back and go, we lost
one of the greatest rugby minds.
You know. And he might go on to win 2 World Cups with 2 other freaking nations.
Against New Zealand, perhaps.
Yeah,
so could knock us at a World Cup.
And this could be a moment that we look back on, one of those sliding doors moments where we really screwed the pooch. You know? Because he's just such an incredible talent. Yeah. And would have made such a great coach of the All Blacks. And I hope one day we get him. But you'd be pretty miffed about the whole situation if you were him. The fact that Ian Foster was selected in the first place, I think that you need more under your belt than just being an assistant coach. You know, you need a very high winning record as a head coach of a franchise or another nation before you become the All Black coach. You know, he didn't. He had a 50% win ratio with the Chiefs. When he left, Dave Rennie took his team and won
2 titles,
2 back-to-back titles with the talent that he had in the squad. Basically. So, but yeah, as you said before, the team back, you know, the players back him. I might have to get a tattoo on my butt.
Well, who knows? We look forward to that. So,
yeah.
But one thing I've heard people say about Razor is that his experience is all New Zealand based. So he's
won the under-20s.
He did win the under-20s. But he's largely been with the Crusaders in Canterbury, which is his kind of home stomping ground anyway.
He won titles when they were playing South African teams.
He beat the Lions twice, so it's not like he can't.
He's taken teams to the high veld and won.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I back him. I really back him.
You don't reckon he needs a bit of the overseas touch before he comes back to New Zealand? I mean, you mentioned...
If it wasn't such an incredible record, I might agree with you. But winning 6 Super Rugby titles in a row...
is mental.
You know, he took over from Todd Blackadder, who was not looked at as a bad coach. He got to a lot of finals.
But just never had that...
Never took them over the edge.
Yeah, and he had a bloody good team as well. He had a lot of big guns in his Crusader side.
Peter McCall.
Yeah.
Carter, he was a right.
Yeah, those guys. Kieran Reid.
Yeah, I found about those guys from your whiteboard.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Actually, I don't think those guys would have been on my whiteboard. That predates my whiteboard.
Oh, I've blown my story, haven't I?
Fraud. Hack fraud.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Fozzie's appointment in the first place, because obviously New Zealand Rugby kept up this theme which they had. Henry passed the mantle to his assistant, which was Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
Hansen, with Wales, his record wasn't great. And I can distinctly remember my old man being livid when Hansen got the gig.
Your old man gets livid about it.
He does. he does. It doesn't take a lot to get my old man livid. Yeah. But
if he sees us, he'll be swearing at me. He'll be getting livid at me for pointing out that he gets livid.
That's right.
Yeah.
Definitely. But he was not a happy chappy when Hansen got the gig. And Hansen did all right.
Yeah, he won a bloody World Cup. Like, the most convincing World Cup we've ever won.
Yeah,
but,
was pretty good.
it was dynamite. I can't recall too much in 1987.
No.
We were 4.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when.
The earliest one I can remember is like 95.
I remember 87. I remember parts of, because I had my older brother and they were celebrating, and I remember just those sort of flashing sort of childhood images.
Okay.
And then I remember 91. I remember being gutted when David Campese just totally pumped us, totally outclassed us.
Yep.
And then your whiteboard came along and really reinforced it all for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
But 95. I do remember getting up to crawl into my parents' bed because they didn't want to watch the final in the lounge.
Really?
Yeah. We watched it on like a 14-inch television.
Oh.
Yeah. But I was sure we were going to win because we're the good guys.
Yeah, that's
in my
thing.
brain, like as a child, your team is the good guys and they have to come 100%. Out on top.
Well, yeah, I just remember thinking there could never be a team as talented as us.
We had Lomu, peak Lomu.
Yeah,
he'd been destroying people right up until that game. Couldn't score against the Box.
Good Lomu would have been without a kidney disorder.
I know.
What a freak.
If you go back and watch him, he can move incredibly quickly for a huge human being.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's so deceptive about it.
He did like 100 meters in 11 seconds.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. But, so we don't know what happens with Razor.
Yeah.
Does he stick and wait for the AB's gig, or does he... Because he has to have been essentially being stringed along this whole time.
Yeah.
Waiting for New Zealand Rugby to pull the trigger. And it just never comes.
Got the old cocktails, basically. We've all been there, Razor.
Bloody New Zealand Rugby.
It must have been a weird buzz for him. Like, sitting there, like, watching that game, probably as a New Zealander, a former All Black.
Yeah.
Rooting for the team.
A lot of his own players in that team.
Rooting for his own players. The massive allegiance, but depending upon the result, a huge implication for his
own role,
his future in his career.
That's right.
Like, do you think he was sitting there going, "Oh, come on, South Africa"? Like, it'd be hard not to, eh?
It'd just be a genuine kind of double-edged sword, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. It's like putting money on the opposition to beat your team, which is something you can do to kind of ease the blow.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Mark Ellis used to do it. He used to say...
Really?
He used to say, not when he was playing, but...
that would be somehow dismissible offence, I think.
Yes, very illegal. But he used to say, like, put enough money that it hurts on the opposition. Okay. So, like... a decent amount of your paycheck just to be like, like not going to cripple you financially, but just as a little,
okay, Oh, I never heard that story.
Yeah, and then just enough for it to hurt.
Right.
So if your team does lose, you go, well,
okay.
At least we made some cash. Yeah.
I cleaned his car once.
At
Rubber Dub Car Wash in Epsom. I cleaned Mark Ellis's car when I was a high school student. I worked at a car wash.
Yeah.
Mark Ellis, he was on TV at that time.
Yeah.
With
Matthew Ridge, perhaps.
Yeah. What was that show called?
Matthew and Mark take on Matthew and Mark.
They had some sports quiz show.
Lots of different. Game of Two Halves.
Game of Two Halves. I'm pretty sure that was around that time.
Guy that kicked his wife when she was on
Veach.
Yeah, with Veach.
Tony Veach.
Kicked his wife. When she was down.
We
haven't forgotten Vici.
That's right, Vici.
Think no one brings that up anymore. It's all we talk about.
I know. Anyway. But I cleaned his car.
Vici's?
No, not Vici's. Ellis. Mark Ellis.
Can I go on a strange tangent from there?
Okay.
It's not that strange, but Matthew Ridge.
Mm-hmm. He owns a car wash.
He owned a car wash called Cafe. So
that's right. Cafe because they serve coffee. It's like a cafe where it's a car wash. It's a cafe.
It's very
I think he's got 2 now.
There are a few of them around.
Okay, it's an empire. Franchise. It's a car wash empire.
Yeah.
But let's put your money down. Razor, is he gonna be taking over an overseas team
Put my money down. No, very possible that he could. I'm often wrong, but I think
You reckon he stays?
I reckon he stays. I reckon that the All Blacks probably are going to get knocked out in the quarters or the semi of the World Cup. They could win it.
Right.
They absolutely could. But I think we're probably not going to win it.
Right.
Chances are we're not going to win it. And if we don't win it, he'll definitely get the role.
Okay.
Barring-
Maybe they've kind of promised him some kind of secondary like carrot that if Fozzie keeps his job, you're at
Yeah.
least our next guy. You're our next cab
Yeah.
off the rank kind of thing after the World Cup.
100%.
Maybe.
I feel bad. I feel like I should have had an extra beer like right there.
You can go top up if you
You
want.
reckon?
Yeah.
Just going to take a short intermission
Cut.
while I get a drink. Alright man, I think we're on fire.
We're doing good.
Just smashing.
It's blowing.
There was a point where I started talking about ripping my eyeballs out. Sorry about that.
That was unexpected.
Right, rugby.
Rugby. So we've talked Fozzie, we've talked Razor. Back to the Rugby Championship. Like you mentioned, you've got each team on one win, which is a pretty unique situation. Do you have a favourite? Because you got the All Blacks with a relatively favourable draw, like I mentioned. A couple of games against Argentina at home and away to the Aussies. You got South Africa heading to Australia. Australia with a horrendous injury list. The Springboks' recent record, though, over the Aussies in Australia is poor.
Like, I think if you're a smart betting man, you've got, even though the All Blacks have had 2 from 7, which is pretty awful, but with the win we've had over Argentina and Australia over the past couple of years, you'd be a pretty bold person not to put your money on New Zealand to take it out, especially considering that the Boks don't travel particularly well. Like they've lost a couple of games in Argentina, haven't they? Have they got
They at least lost one in like 2018, I want to say.
Yeah, so they could lose a game to Argentina. They'll definitely, I would say they'll lose at least one against Australia. I think I think we'll probably lose one against Australia in Australia.
Okay.
But I really like the look of I like the look of the Argies too. I don't think they're going to win it, but
You mentioned Michael Chick earlier, and I meant to touch on it. He's genuinely looking quite happy. Like it's a big change. Like if you remember the end of his tenure with the Wallabies, every press conference was quite hostile, and he was like throwing barbs at the journalists. And I mean, admittedly, the journalists can ask some pretty frustrating and inane questions, but like Checker, I've been watching his press conferences. He tries to answer every question in Spanish. His Spanish, his Spanish is pretty basic.
Yeah.
But he understands the questions for the most part that are being posed to him, which is cool because it means he's already got the understanding.
Yeah.
And then like he genuinely just seems to be enjoying himself. And I don't know, man. Like he seems to have got the players motivated. Like the Argentinians at the end of last year just seemed miserable. Yeah, it wasn't. They like if we talked about players not playing for their coach, like it didn't seem like they really wanted to keep Ledesma in his job. But Checker, I mean, it's really early days. It's really hard to say.
He might suit their temperament.
Maybe.
That sort of Latin hot-blooded temperament.
Passion.
Like get the passion. Because he seems like a guy who can come in and really razz up the boys. Makes a big impact initially, like he did with Australia when he came in.
He took over with
like
a
and
year
what he
to go.
did with the Waratahs. He came in with a hiss and a roar and got a huge amount of success and was like, "Follow me, boys. This is the way."
Yeah.
I didn't know that about him responding to questions in Spanish. I love that.
Yeah.
I really do.
He's making an effort.
Yeah, and I think he'll really endear himself not only to his players but probably the Argentinian public as a whole by doing that as a foreign coach. Because, it's none of it. Like Ian Foster wouldn't have done that. No.
Graham Henry when he was over there probably wasn't speaking much Spanish.
Henry wouldn't have done that. John Kerwin was
He's a bit of a linguist, but not a very good coach.
fluent in Italian. Not very good coach. Yeah.
Can't have both. Maybe Checker is the guy to have a bit of both.
I think he could really galvanize that team. And that's the thing. What does a consistent Argentinian squad look like? Because they have a lot of talent across the park. They have a lot of talent in the back line. They've always got big forwards. If they can bring it together, are we that far away from talking about Argentina as not only as rugby championship contenders, but genuine, big boys of the world game?
World Cup or world game generally, it's the consistency that's the issue, eh?
Yeah.
Like they literally just turned around a pretty horrendous defeat to Australia by giving them their biggest hiding that they've ever had. So it's like the consistency thing in a nutshell. They did the same thing with Scotland. They beat them, they lost to them, they beat them.
Yeah.
So that's...
What a game that third one was.
Yeah.
That was a cracker.
Yeah,
Holy.
good comeback win in front of their home fans.
Spicy meatball.
Very much so.
Oh, dear. What was the question?
Who's going to win the Rugby Championship?
The All Blacks.
Okay.
I think the All Blacks are going to win it. But it's anyone's, it could not be more even.
That's
it
right.
literally could not.
The Argentina's on top. The All Blacks are on the bottom.
Well, I get comments on my video saying you don't talk about Argentina enough.
Right.
I just want you to know, this isn't on my channel, but I've spent the last good 3 minutes talking about Argentina.
That's my influence. What can you say?
Thank you, 2 Cents, for showing me the great ways
Yeah.
of the great people of Argentina, who make up 1.6% of the population of my audience.
Did you see the latest Wallabies squad? It was only out today. You may not have seen it.
There's someone.
There's a little bit of a bombshell.
Was there a retro player in there? Someone from the past?
Bernard Foley, the Iceman. The Iceman is back. He hasn't played for Australia for 3 years.
Is he our age?
He's got to be getting close to it. Not quite. But
That's a weird thing.
Such a weird one because they call up Quade Cooper from Japan. Fair enough.
Yes.
He gets injured. They've got Noah Lolosio who kind of steps in. He's the youngster who seems to have a lot of potential, but Dave's still seemingly not quite happy with his game.
Yeah.
Then he puts James O'Connor in for a game. They lose, and he talks about they don't have like the right cohesion, which seems so bizarre because then you bring in another player. I would have thought cohesion is you play the same guys,
100%.
to get some partnerships and get some chemistry going.
Absolutely.
And then you bring in Bernard Foley. I like Bernard Foley, but it seems like a bit of a weird pick.
It is weird, and players want a little bit of faith shown in them by their coach. We're all human. We all make mistakes, and players are going to make mistakes. And they're going to make bad mistakes in big moments. But that doesn't mean you can just throw them out. They want some of the best thing you can do as a coach is if a guy has a bad game, is play him next week. We've still got faith in you.
Andy Farrell, they lost that first game against the All Blacks at Eden Park. I think the next week he named pretty much exactly the same team because he was just like, I've seen enough from you guys, and you guys can turn it around the next week. So, it just does seem like a really bizarre one because O'Connor. He'd had like an injury towards the end of Super Rugby, so he's not been playing that much rugby.
No.
So for him to come in at 10 and maybe not have his best game ever is not exactly a shock. I didn't think he was terrible, but I've only watched the game once.
It's been a tricky position. We've had a lot more stability, even though we've had this Bowden Mo'unga stuff going on for a while. Both of those players are incredibly world class and will step in there and can be world betters at any time, and you feel pretty comfortable when either of them are at 10. But there hasn't been that guy
for Australia.
Since when?
You've got Cooper, who played in the 2011 World Cup, still
and
cracking along.
And he had a ratchet tournament, that one.
And then, Bernard Foley, who was their guy for like the 2015 and the 2019 tournaments.
Yeah.
Like it's an interesting call from Dave, but their injury list is long. I mean, Reece Hodge, actually, that game when Cooper got injured, actually, I think he looked the best of the lot, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. Reece Hodge is an inconsistent...
And then you complain about your team not having
cohesion. That was the comment that was a bit...
It's a bit silly, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit of a bizarre one. So, genuinely, anyone's got a chance, but All Blacks, with their remaining games, recent record over the Aussies, decent, home against Argentina, should bring it home.
But they should have beaten...
They should have beaten Ireland at home, but then they didn't.
Home.
And they probably should have had a better end of year tour last year, but they didn't.
Exactly. So this whole notion of us just expecting success because the All Blacks win, that's what we've grown up with.
Yeah, basically.
Maybe we need to...
It's not going to be like shock horror if the All Blacks don't bring home the trophy.
Yeah, exactly.
It would genuinely surprise me if Argentina won it just because they've never... I don't even think they've finished second.
I don't even know if it'd be mad. Would you be mad?
I think everyone would love to see it. When the Argentinians beat us for the first time, I was like a bit mad, but also like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah, I was pissed. You're a better man than I am.
I do remember yelling at the TV, which is pretty rare for me, saying something, because my dad was watching with me, and he said something like, "Oh, we're going to get a bonus point." And I was like, I don't care about the bonus point. We're supposed to beat Argentina.
Shut up, Dad!
Yeah, exactly. What are you talking about, bonus point? Is this where we've gotten to, that we're like happy with a bonus point?
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. When they went up ahead after Bowden, back to the South African game, we keep circling back to it. It's like a magnet.
I know, we can't help it.
Yeah, and when South Africa went ahead after Bodie got binned, rightfully
I was expecting us to go on and lose that one.
Yeah, exactly. And I was doing a live stream, and I was sort of saying, I was like, well, look, the effort has been so
I literally said, I'm not... And the review, I was like, if we'd lost, I wouldn't have been mad. Because at least up until that point, you were like, what? We've actually played. We've played some rugby. We've looked dangerous. We've defended pretty well. If we go on and lose it, there's no real shame in that.
Yeah, 100%. And they've got... But it was amazing to see because that's what we've been notorious for over the last 20 years is that last 10 minutes.
The comeback.
Just being able to win from anywhere in the last 10 minutes. And they did it. And they did it with 14 men for a big period of it as well.
At altitude as well. Box fans were kind of quick to point out that a lot of the squad that the Box picked for that game, I don't think many of those guys were based in like Pretoria or Joburg for their clubs. So they're not guys who actually... play at altitude all the time, so the advantage of altitude was kind of cancelled out.
Can we talk about that for a second, just in terms of the selections with South Africa? I know we're circling back a little bit, but not starting Marks.
That seemed like madness.
Yeah, it did. And
Mbonambi was initially named, and that guy is a proper unit. I love that guy. But then you got Dweba, who's got 3 caps to his name, to suddenly take on the All Blacks. It seemed like a big ask. The guy was... he's been really criticised for his line-out throwing and for some mistakes, but he was given a pretty tough ask.
He did pretty well with staunching out the All Blacks.
Yeah, the start,
Can we give him
some props for that, but it's more the gameplay that
you don't
matters.
get points for that.
No.
Sorry, Dweba. I kept on calling him Dweller as well during my thing. So
Joseph Dweba.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, he had a shock. He even
it's hard to blame him though because he's literally been thrust back into a game.
He had a shocker. Like he wasn't like the ones. There were about 3 line-out calls that didn't actually get called that didn't go straight. I didn't actually see him do a one line-out throw in that was straight. He was relatively ineffective.
He should have come off the bench.
Yeah, 100%.
He's the third guy. Like if the first guy, which was Mbonambi, gets injured, because he's generally been the first guy.
Yeah, and that was about
If he gets injured, then you don't bring in the third guy to be the first guy. You promote the second guy to be the first. It's like the chain.
And in terms of what you saw from Malcolm Marks the week before, I can't really remember seeing a better hooker performance.
Yeah, he was unplayable.
Yeah,
he was just pilfering ball like mad. He was making big carries. Like he was just doing it all.
He was like a number 8 meets a hooker, meets an open side flanker, and did them all at a world class level.
Absolutely.
And then they didn't play him the next week.
It just seemed like madness.
Yeah. Absolute craziness, and apparently there's a rugby reason behind it.
They said that in the press conference that there's a rugby reason that they can't talk about. Yeah. So.
Is that talking about the old quota rotor?
Yeah, I think so. That's the kind of unspoken thing.
That seems like the very opposite of a rugby.
But the thing is, Dweba is a good player. I've genuinely seen him play some good rugby. But, I mean, who would be... when Taukei'aho was playing for the All Blacks, I don't think he was starting, his third game. They wouldn't have just chucked him in the deep end like that.
100%.
If you've got a guy who's more experienced than before.
It would have been like throwing Perifetta and just starting the weekend.
Exactly. You wouldn't do that.
No. Perifetta could have gone, well, I feel really sorry for him. He's been on...
He's not getting any game time. He's been playing...
Are they going to give him a game? Petition, #start Perifetta, or Perifetta off the bench.
Start Stephen.
That's better. Start Stephen.
Get the old alliteration going.
Alliteration. I was trying to do one with Perifetta, but it's a tough one.
That's a toughie, yeah.
Perfect Perifetta.
There you go.
I think we really nailed that.
We did. So, but yeah, anyone could win it. Rugby Championship's looking, it's looking a healthy old beast at the minute.
Absolutely.
I do get a little bit of Six Nations envy sometimes with genuinely how even there. I mean, Italy, no. Yeah. But and Scotland usually manages to throw something. They'll
one good game at tournament.
Yeah. Well, there'll be that game where, if these guys can just win this game, then they could actually turn the corner. Like you talk about turning the corner, and that just never happens seemingly in the Six Nations. But I get a bit of Six Nations envy with a round or two to go. You genuinely I don't know who's going to win it. And then a lot of the times in the Rugby Championships, okay, we already know who's going to win it. So, but this year, I mean, so far so good.
It's been a lot of it is a foregone conclusion that we've won the first 3 games. Once we've retained the Bledisloe and the Freedom Cup. Yeah. It's kind of done. And it's not even a big celebration.
That's right. It's just to be expected.
Wasn't it amazing? I think that was when the Ireland won. That was the most the Steinlager Cup has been celebrated. A big moment. Most of the time it's just Richie or Kieran Reid who just goes...
They take a photo with it.
Oh, we got one of these again? Okay, cool.
Exactly. Chuck it back in the cabinet. Nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Apart from the Bledisloe.
Bledisloe...
Freedom Cup maybe a bit more now, but it's the Bledisloe is...
Well, yeah, because for me... the bigger rival is definitely South Africa, but the bigger trophy
is the Bledisloe. 100%.
I don't even understand how that makes sense.
It's a big cup as well. It's like a big trophy.
She's
like
a big boy.
The World Cup.
How many beers fit in it?
A lot.
Yeah, there's I used to know the number.
The World Cup trophy is like it's gold, but it's quite small.
Yes.
And rugby players often being big humans, it looks, unless you hold it one-handed, it doesn't look the best. But the Bledisloe looks like a proper. It looks like the Stanley Cup kind of thing. It's a big trophy.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, the Stanley Cup's a massive one.
Yeah.
But the Bledisloe Cup just is one that they went. Oh, I can imagine them just going down to the trophy store, going, we've got this one, it's about that big.
No, it's bigger.
Small, no, bigger, and then like this guy called Ralph was buying it. They're like, Ralph, and he brings it back to the office, and he's got this thing, and they go,
what have you done?
What have you done, Ralph? This is ridiculous. We're gonna be a laughing stock.
But no, it's perfect. It's actually perfect.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we love it.
Yeah. Lastly, one thing I wanted to touch on.
URC.
Woo! And Super Rugby.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, it was a bit of a messy split up. COVID was the kind of nail in the coffin for Super Rugby. There'd been a lot of talk for a number of years about Super Rugby and what's going to happen. We can play the blame game. I think New Zealand Rugby tends to get the bad look of it at the end as kind of the villain of wanting to kind of put that final nail in. But there'd been talk in the years leading up to it about South African teams talking about going north. The broadcast deal might be better there. They're not happy with how things are going in Super Rugby. South African teams weren't winning Super Rugby. They didn't like the travel schedule. The time zone alignment for the European games looked a lot better. And then it finally happens. It's a bit messy, and you get a lot of New Zealand fans who are like, you guys can bugger off to your URC. It's not a worthwhile competition. Then you got a lot of South African fans reveling in this URC and looking back at Super Rugby going, pretty happy we're not there anymore.
Seeing in the rearview mirror.
And then it's not a great look for Super Rugby when there's a bit of a stoush going on between New Zealand Rugby at the minute and the Aussies, because Hamish McLennan, the Aussie CEO, is basically saying the current split of the broadcast money, it's not the fairest.
Don't like it, champ. That's what he's saying.
Basically he said something like, New Zealand's a much smaller country than Australia, and we've got more revenue. Technically,
quite a lot smaller.
Yes, and that basically, I guess he's just trying to jockey for a better deal.
Yeah,
and then you got the URC who are breaking all kinds of ratings records for their season, which is to be expected. The Pro 14 expands to the URC. The South African teams, bigger broadcast numbers. I don't think that's not rocket science that a bunch of South African viewers is going to boost their numbers. But it's looking like happy days in URC land. And Super Rugby, it does. It's looking like a bit of a dog's breakfast.
Well, number one thing that people say about New Zealand fans is that we're arrogant. Yeah. And we were quite happy to go, all right, see you later, champ. Go have fun with the
New Zealand Rugby didn't make any friends in the last couple of years, did we? The whole, Aussie can have one or two teams if you're lucky.
We've got so much talent here. We're so good. Our teams are so good. Like, we hold up these competitions. Look at how many of them are New Zealand teams have won Super Rugby when it's been in all of its different variations of it. So we kind of drank our own Kool-Aid, I reckon, a little bit. And it makes more sense for the South Africans in terms of just being a fan. Like, waking up in the middle of the night every week to watch your Stormers team play or, whoever, isn't that much fun.
That's for the diehards. That's not for the casuals. And you need to attract more than the diehards.
Exactly. And now them playing in the Northern Hemisphere, the time zone is much more favourable, isn't it?
It's only the seasons that are kind of backwards, but the time zone thing is more important.
It's well on point. And they've had massive results. And now it's like looking at, New Zealand Rugby seems to be making a number of mistakes on a number of levels.
Mark Robertson. Not making many friends.
No, he's not. And it's hard to point to a good decision that we've made recently. It'd be nice to find one of those. And what's the current split between the revenue split between the Australians?
I can't remember the deal. Our deal is worth several times more than the Aussie one, I think. But New Zealand Rugby negotiated their deal with Sky Sports New Zealand at a really good time, because Sky here in New Zealand would essentially be a dead entity without the rugby rights. Whereas
dinosaurs will die. We're coming for you.
Whereas the Aussies were dealing with Stan, who kind of had to come to the rescue after they'd had a falling out with Fox. So they were kind of able to lowball the Aussies with a kind of low offer. And remembering old Super Rugby was more of an even split with the revenues.
You know what the best thing about the whole split with Fox was? No more Phil Kearns.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
He's still involved with something. I think it was with the World Cup bid, but he's not. We don't have to hear him.
Yeah, God. I really... probably my number one least favourite commentator of all time, Phil Kearns.
That could be a topic for a day. We should write down a list of favourites.
One of my top 10 lists.
Yeah, there you go. Top 10 commentators.
Top 10...
Hated commentators.
Dog commentators. Oh, I let a sweet word.
Bleep that one out. Bleep that one out.
Beep. But it's going to be interesting to see. Let's play the hypothetical game for a second.
Yeah.
Let's say that Australia aren't all talk and they actually back it up. They say, all right, well, we don't like the revenue split. We're heading.
Stan, their broadcaster, has said they've backed the Aussie Rugby. Like, if you guys want to go alone, we're with you. We're happy.
What does it look like? What does theirs look like, and what does ours look like? Because we've seen our Aotearoa Super Rugby, and it was great for a few weeks, but it got kind of boring. It's for
I went to the first game of Aotearoa in the first year when we had it, and it was a sold out Eden Park, which is bananas for Super Rugby because everyone had been in lockdown and it was like celebration. Let's just get out. Clearly, the attendance numbers dropped from season 1 to season 2. They're a bit shifty in that they never announce the official attendances unless they're quite good. Yeah. But clearly, the attendances dropped.
No, they don't say.
I'm a stats guy. They don't.
Oh, really?
Other leagues like the Premiership, I think the URC, they put out the numbers for every game, even if it's like 2,000 fans, like for the Benetton games in Italy.
Eden Park, the Blues had 11,000 people this week.
Yeah, they very rarely announce it officially, but clearly there was a drop.
I reckon they should bring all games to Oniwa. I know North Harbour doesn't play at Oniwa Domain.
I just rolled my eyes at it.
Yeah, you did hard. I saw it. But when they did, that was when we were at our heyday.
Right.
You know, this is because it was a small stadium. Stadium. Every game at Oniwa Domain.
There is something to be said about stadiums being too big for their purpose at the moment. Like if you go back and look at Super Rugby from the 2000s or like NPC Rugby from the 90s, literally 40,000 people watching NPC Rugby.
Yeah.
But that's no longer like, apart from All Blacks Test, you're not going to get anywhere near that kind of numbers.
It just needs to be something special when something happens. I remember like Tana Umanga's last game, they sold out Eden Park for that, even though he was playing for Wellington. And then even the Blues winning all year, they weren't. What were they getting in their crowds?
Maybe 20,000.
And we sold out the final.
Yeah,
which was a real.
Did you go?
No, I didn't go.
I went. It was a bit stink.
I wanted to go, but I couldn't get a ticket. Yeah, okay.
I got a ticket.
I got a ticket for the week before, but then I couldn't actually go.
Oh.
Had a dinner party.
Goodness me, priorities, man.
Sucked.
Priorities. No whiteboard. Didn't go to the game.
No, that's what. We got a real good space for a whiteboard right here.
Next time I'll just pack it. Next time I'll just bring it in the car.
I am the replacement. This is the first time 2 Cents is I keep calling it Mark has ever had a live guest. Live guest.
Unbelievable.
Look, high five. We can actually.
There you go.
Look at that. Human contact.
I know.
Yeah. What was the question?
I can't remember.
Yeah, we're talking
about something about basically.
Good luck to them. They're doing bloody well.
The URC's going good. Super Rugby. I've kind of said for a while what Super Rugby needs is a bit of consistency. They need to stop. Like we've got the teams now. We've got the Aussie teams. You've got the Kiwi teams. You've got the 2 Pacific teams. You just need to build that for a few years. You need to build the rivalry, like the Crusaders Blues thing, or not really in recent years, but you need those rivalries. It needs to be Moana Pacific or Fiji and Drua.
Yeah.
That only comes with time. But if the Aussies pull the pin within like 2 years of the competition,
where is Moana Pacific? I know it's been. I want to say Ericsson, but it's not Mount Smart.
Yeah.
Where's their island?
It's supposed to be. I think their official home ground is Mount Smart, but they want to take games. I think to Tonga and Samoa, but they are contractually obligated, I think, to play all their games at Mount Smart for at least a year or 2.
Come on, weren't those?
Did you see the games in Fiji?
They were
unbelievable.
Games of the year.
Unbelievable
in terms of crowd and atmosphere.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
That's
what Super Rugby is. You watch that, even if you didn't have a horse in that race, you're just like, this is cracking stuff.
Have you spent time in Fiji?
No, never.
They are fanatical about their rugby. They absolutely bloody love the game. There are rugby posts everywhere. It's just a tiny population, bugger all resources, but freakish athletes and stuff like that. And the way they play the game and stuff like that, we can cut this out, but I played some touch with them, and you know the way they play touch. You know how we played touch is like it's basically like a sort of a bastardized version of league. Essentially,
Yeah.
six
It's
touches.
yeah.
Their whole game is you're one touch each. So if you touch it, you get
handover.
touched. It's a handover.
Wow.
So they're always having to flick the ball around
because they never want to get touched.
Never want to get touched.
Oh my goodness.
Always have to, and they play that everywhere.
That's unbelievable.
You know, and that's why they got incredible handling skills. They got incredible pace.
Because they just play that every day.
They all grow up playing that version of touch. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you any good?
No, I pulled my hammy.
Was it a real pulled hammy?
It was a real pulled hammy. It was an embarrassing story. I was on a cruise, and I was actually on my honeymoon, and I was on my cruise, and my wife, who worked for a cruise tour company, we got a super cheap deal on this cruise that should have been like $25,000.
Wow.
You know, and because she worked for the company, we got it for bugger all.
Right.
But we're on this cruise with all these super wealthy people. It wasn't a massive cruise ship, it was a bit smaller and stuff, but there wasn't many people on it. And they were just super wealthy baby boomers, and I didn't want to talk to them. I had nothing in common. But I liked talking to the crew. I made mates with all the Fijian crew and stuff.
Okay.
And they were like, times they said they were like, we just poured up to this island at like 6 a.m. and we play a bit of touch. You want to play? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll play. I'm New Zealand.
Yeah. I know how to play rugby.
Exactly. And then I just got absolutely schooled by them. Like, I just could not get my head around the way they played. I remember, like, I was just getting gassed by everybody. There was this guy who...
How old were you at the time?
I was 29 at the time.
Okay, so still pretty limber and...
Should have been. Should have been. But I remember seeing this guy who would have been, like, 45 or something like that. And he was on the outside, and I thought, sure, I can get him. And he just absolutely skinned me. Gassed me for pace on the outside. And I was chasing him, and then I pulled my hammy. And I was like... Oh, mate. Yeah. And then I knew 29 my best years had passed.
There's one special thing about the Fijians. Like, I've looked up enough player profiles looking for stats and whatnot in my time. Sometimes you'll look up a prop and you'll see, like, their background has, like, sevens. And you're like, this is not supposed to happen. Like, no other country, I don't think, has props who have a background in sevens.
And that you could back them in space.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Like, a lot of their locks just look like big... freaking lanky wingers,
basically.
You know, when you see them move, they're a freakish athlete.
Yeah, well, if they've been playing it their whole childhood, I guess it kind of makes a lot of sense. Okay, so URC's doing good. Happy days for them. You'll have to watch some coming season. It's only about a month away.
This is right. This is what I want to put out there. Like, I'm your very usual kind of arrogant Kiwi fan. Don't watch a lot of the Six Nations. Don't watch a lot of URC, if I'm being completely honest with you. Like, just don't do it. But, you know, with the new thing that I'm doing with the YouTube,
I've got to.
So what
I was the same. Like, I watched a bit of Six Nations before. I never watched any European club rugby. But
my team for the Six Nations is Ireland. It's got to be Ireland. I'm of Irish descent. Like, my last name's O'Sullivan. One-eyed. All that sort of crap. That's what the name actually means. One-eyed.
Okay, one-eyed. Nice.
Yeah, yep. So that's my team. Second team, that would definitely be Wales, because I know a lot of great Welsh people. But URC teams, I'm up for... I can be lobbied. So if someone wants to lobby me a good... probably an Irish URC team. I'm willing to...
Would you want to go for, like, the powerhouse established team, like the Crusaders of Ireland, or do you want to go for, like, a bit of a plucky underdog?
I want to go for the Blues of Ireland.
The Blues of Ireland.
Where is like County Cork?
That's Munster.
That's my team.
Okay.
Yeah. Munster.
They got a new coach this year, Graham Roundtree.
Oh.
The ears, you know.
Yeah.
Graham Roundtree's their head coach.
It's a Kiwi, yeah.
No.
Who am I thinking? I'm thinking of Plumtree.
No, the Englishman.
I knew this was going to happen. Oh, I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah, the guy with the ears.
Oh, he looks like a cartoon character.
Basically, he does. Yeah.
I thought this was going to happen way more than it has so far.
You can cut that out.
No, it's okay. We'll keep it in. It's real.
Okay.
I thought there'd be lots of things where I say things you just look at me like. So that's only happened once.
There you go. Not bad. Not bad return.
Pretty good.
URC. You should definitely watch a bit of it.
All right, go Munster.
Go Munster. There'll be a lot of...
I'm just gonna... Okay, I can be lobbied, though. I'm not totally sold on Munster.
Okay. And then, Six Nations, I definitely suggest watching. The crowds are phenomenal.
Yeah, I've seen that. And I watch highlights and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I used to do, like, before YouTube. I was just like, I would watch the highlights. Or if there was a game on, like, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was having breakfast, flick it on. Yeah. But if you actually watch it week in, week out, it's pretty cool.
Being a monetized YouTuber.
There you go. It's incentivized for you.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, 100%. Oh, Mark, can we do it? Can someone help us? No, don't. I'm not asking for help. Please don't help us. But how amazing would it be to get to the Rugby World Cup next year? Actually be there in person.
My wife would kill me.
Well, that's okay. You know, like...
That's okay. That's okay. The 2 kids under 7 with my wife while I'm gallivanting around.
So
France.
I should do parts 2 of that honeymoon story. Is I'm divorced. So it's probably responses like that. It's okay if your wife wants to kill you.
The World Cup after is in Australia. I figured that one should be doable.
Oh, I just want to go. I really want to go. And my bucket list. Can we quickly talk about that for a second? Bucket list places you want to see games. For me, it's Millennium Stadium.
Oh, that was the first one I was thinking of. Was also Millennium Stadium.
Yeah, Twickenham would be massive.
The way they sing, man, just seems next to That's the one. That's the one. You got it. You've watched Wales play before.
Yeah.
Sing, that one.
Sing whatever they sing. In the crowd, they always sing "Bread of Heaven."
Okay.
Yeah.
I never listened to the lyrics.
Bread of heaven.
All I know is their crowds are much more involved. Like
feed me till I want no more.
Is that really the lyrics?
Feed me to something like that. Okay. A Welsh person can help us.
Confirm with an eye.
The reason I know that is because I'm also a Manchester City fan.
Oh goodness gracious!
They used to have a
pre-money or
pre-money.
Okay.
And they used to have a guy called, was it Sean Gota or Paul Gota or something like that? And they used to bastardize the words of that song and go, like, feed the goat and he will score. Feed the goat. Yeah, Gota.
They do have some of the best chants.
Yeah, they do.
But I noticed when I went to the World Cup in 2011 when it was here, I got to see France, New Zealand, the pool game.
I went to that game too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't see you there.
No, I was wearing a hat.
Okay, I must have missed you. But there was one section, like as all the New Zealand fans are sitting there in their black gear, like I am now, kind of like politely clapping like this. There was one section of French fans that were just jumping up and down, and like it looked like the stadium. At my first glance, like is it falling down? Like is the stadium collapsing? Yeah. But it was just French fans just going crazy for their team. We are very docile.
We are. We love our rugby.
We do.
We do. We really do. But we aren't great attendants to sporting events. We sit there, we watch.
What's that?
We look.
Oh, he's coming in for the side ref.
Get over it! From time to time, yell at the ref. Something happens, we go, oh! Yeah. But we're not really trying to build atmosphere. No. We just, and we'll cheer when a try was scored. And they might get the old sort of, a little lame. Blacks.
Blacks, yeah, that's it. That's the one thing that you'll love about the Six Nations, if you do watch it week in, week out, is the fans are pretty next level.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to, really. Well, I wanted to start. My thing was, it was distracted sports. So I made videos about the UFC. I made videos about cricket. Made videos about rugby league. Only thing was, nobody bloody watched them.
It's all about rugby union, mate.
Yeah, rugby union. Cool.
There you go.
I love rugby.
Surely UFC's got a bigger audience than...
No, maybe. I only made one, and it was probably one of my worst performing videos. No, the videos I made about the New Zealand Warriors were definitely the worst performing.
Oh, really?
They were my very first videos. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't really follow league.
I do. It's hard.
Are you Blues and a Warriors fan?
Yes.
That's pretty hard.
Yes, I do.
At least you got the All Blacks to kind of balance out the misery with some joy for the
longest, on average, until this year when the Blues had a really great year. On average, it happens twice a year, where the Blues and the Warriors win in the same weekend. It happens 2 times a year generally.
Right.
And I'd be like, I'd be over the moon for that weekend.
Yeah. And then most of the time, crashing down.
One will win, one will lose.
Yeah.
Both lose a lot. Like when the Blues had some pretty stark seasons.
JK seasons.
JK seasons. Even the first couple of McDonald's seasons weren't stellar, were they? Yeah.
Steady improvement.
Steady.
Oh. Okay. Oh. Happy days. That's everything on the list. And a wee bit more. A bit of singing. Yeah. And some other
Sorry about
stuff.
that, guys. That was fun, man.
That's all right. It's good.
I've enjoyed it. You signing off?
I think so. How do we usually sign off the videos?
I don't.
What do I say? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Distracted Sports is this guy.
That's me. Can everybody give Mark crap for not telling people to like and subscribe?
I always forget.
He somehow thinks it's beneath him. Like it's
I don't
like,
think it's beneath
you think
me. When I see someone else being like, "Hey, like and subscribe and hit the bell," I'm just kind of like, "Don't tell me what to do." If I like the video, I will like it. But then I do know.
You're a YouTuber. You get money and stuff. It's kind of your job. You got to do your job. It's like and subscribe, everybody, to Mark from 2 Cents. His wife will thank you for it. Yeah, how's that? Well, she probably won't.
She probably won't care.
No, but it's like and subscribe.
Yes, do that.
Do it.
Good to chat.
Yeah, great, man.
This is actually our third time to talk in person, but first time on camera.
On camera.
So
many more.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll see how this video does. If we get like a abnormally high dislike ratio, then maybe we'll just cut him loose and find somebody else who's.
You've seen my stats, haven't you? Yeah. Right.
Cheers, guys.